Hey, manufacturing world, welcome to another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America Corporation. I'm your host, Wade Anderson, and today joining me in the studio, I've got Allan Logan with Schunk.
Hey, Wade.
Hey, Allan, appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
All right, so to start with, let's just talk a little bit about Allan. Who is Allan Logan?
Wow, big question. Actually not so big, but at any rate, Allan Logan is a family man. He's also a fan of our industry, with a passion to save American manufacturing. Started in the industry 20 years ago in industrial distribution, spent a few years there and then another 15 years in the metal cutting side of our business. And since 2 years ago, started with Schunk. So moved to the other side of the process, as I like to say.
Right.
Went from the metal removal side of the process to the clamping side of the process, the lathe chuck.
Went from how do you cut it to how do you hold it.
That's right. That's right. A whole nother world over there too. Had no idea, when I guess as a metal removal guy, cutting tool guy, it's really fascinating to see the chips fly, and as long as it's held securely, then hey, let's let it rip. But I guess when you get over and start understanding what it all takes to hold the workpiece securely and efficiently,
right,
it's a whole nother world.
Yep. And what an important part of the process, right? You can dream a lot of things and talk about massive material removal rates and cool 5-axis tool paths, and you always at some point have to back into, okay, well, how are you going to hold that? How are you going to get to all that geometry?
Yeah, and for me, I think it's an overlooked opportunity for efficiency. And the reason I think that is, where the action is where the chip's being made.
Right. That's the exciting part, right?
Yeah, it is, right? Chips are flying, hitting the door. There's just a lot of stuff going on right there. So I guess just the human nature is to focus on where that action is. But then, and so I think a lot of attention has been paid to improving shop's efficiency on that side of the process.
Okay.
So that's only half of it. The other half is over here on the work holding side. It's not as sexy maybe or as fun to watch,
right, but
it has an equal part in terms of the quality of the components, the productivity of the shop's environment. So I really think that is an area where a lot of attention and opportunities to improve your bottom line will be for years to come. And customers, we know customers are starting to recognize the same thing.
Yeah.
Where they're just, they haven't really, investigated that side of the process as they have the metal removal side.
Sure. So tell us a little bit about Schunk. Who is Schunk as a company? How to get started? And where are we at today? Kind of take us through the history, if you will.
Wow, yeah, it's a great question. And Schunk is a fascinating company. Schunk is a family-owned company, currently third generation leadership. Schunk started as a machine shop right after World War II in 1945. The founder, Frederick Schunk, started making precision automotive components for manufacturers such as Porsche. Actually, the Porsche 356 was the first automobile he started making components for. Shortly after that, his son, Heinz-Dieter Schunk, joined the business in 1964. And Heinz-Dieter had a vision to produce chuck jaws. His father having a shop, constantly needing to manufacture chuck jaws for the different work that was coming through, Heinz-Dieter recognized that there would be an opportunity to standardize. So shortly after that, the Schunk family introduced the first standard jaw program in Germany. So that was 1945, 1964. And so the company continued to evolve, got into technology such as hydraulic tool holding. And then, say, around 1989, 1990, the company had now grown from, say, a 10-person machine shop to a global player in work holding technology of 3,500 employees. So the company continued to grow. acquire other companies, get into other technologies. So today, Schunk, as I mentioned, comprised of over 3,500 employees with 33 international subsidiaries, and is the a global player, I should say, in clamping and gripping technology. And you might ask, well, what is the difference between clamping and gripping? Well, clamping is the work holding side of our business.
Okay.
And tool holding. So you've got our hydraulic tool holding technology. You also have our lathe chuck technology, and our stationary work holding technology. So in stationary work holding, you'll find, the work holding that you would have for your machining centers.
Sure.
Vices, 0-point clamping systems, magnets, vacuum technology. So a very broad company with, a passion to bring technology innovations to the market to help our customers help their customers. So you got the clamping side and then the gripping side. Gripping is where our automation expertise lives. So Schunk is a global leader in automation technologies such as end-of-arm tooling.
Right.
So we're headquartered in Germany, but to bring it closer to home, we actually have our U.S. headquarters in Morrisville, North Carolina, close to the Raleigh airport.
Okay.
And there we manufacture, and we also have our sales and marketing and other administrative functions to run the business. We also have a tech center in Houston, Texas, where we support partners such as Okuma with customer applications, much like the tech center you have in Texas as well.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of times we keep a machine on your floor there in Houston as well. So we try to share from a partner technology standpoint. We have a lot of your components obviously all over our tech center, but it's nice to give you guys a platform to be able to test and prove out products on as well there. So you have a really nice facility in Houston.
Absolutely. And the thing I think about that's so neat with those tech centers is we together as partners can collaborate and develop processes for our customers outside of their production floor. So anytime we can help our customers realize efficiency gains and do it remotely, at the Partners in Think or at one of the Schunk Tech Centers, then that's time we're not developing a process at the customer.
Right. So
that's time they can use to continue to, meet their customers' demands. And so the technology is really, in a sense, developed and proven to a point outside of the production environment.
Right. So when it hits the shop floor, now it's a matter of execution rather than development.
That's right. And, I said earlier we developed the process to a point, right? Because we all know that once it goes to the shop and it's in a production environment, there's things that we cannot anticipate. There's certain conditions that we just can't replicate in a tech center. But, maybe 90% of the development is done. So, that's a really strong resource for our customers and something that I know you and I are both very proud of that we can offer to our customers.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the headquarters here in North America. You guys just went through a recent expansion, correct?
Yeah, we did. Actually, our third expansion.
Third, wow.
Yeah, since 1992. So 1992, it was incorporated in Morrisville, North Carolina. Our president is Milton Gary. And since then, we've had 3 expansions, as you mentioned. The last one, and most recent, being in May of 2019. So there we expanded our manufacturing facility and also our sales and marketing offices as well. With the expansion is actually set for growth because right now we don't occupy all of the office space, let's say. Manufacturing is a different story.
Yeah.
We got it full of machines and Okuma machines, by the way. So we are anticipating a lot of growth, and we're built to grow.
One of the things I find interesting, the last time I walked through your shop, as soon as you walk in, it always interests me when I see customers that are actually using their products in a manufacturing environment. You know, it's one thing to talk about principles and things that you should be doing as a manufacturer. It's something else when you're actually walking the talk, and Schunk does that. You walk into the floor, and there's automated cells. So your gripping technologies, things you're talking about, you're wringing it out in a real world manufacturing environment.
Yeah, that's a great point, Wade. And I think about the Okuma Mac turn that we have on the shop floor. That machine is equipped with Schunk grippers because it's an automated cell. So we have our end of arm tooling tending the machine. We have our lathe chuck on the machine holding the tool holders that we're turning and milling. And then we have our tool holders that are actually holding the cutting tools. It's a really neat place to see where we use our product to make our own product. And it's a great opportunity for customers to come by and see what it is that we're doing and maybe give them some ideas on how they can utilize some of the technology in their own shops.
Right. And the automation component, one of the things I noticed, you guys have your OEE measurements in place. You've got a big board on at least last time I was there, is on one end of the shop where you could see all the machines, what the OEE, the efficiency was on them. And as you're talking about, the Mac turn with the robot on it at the time was the highest overall efficient machine within your manufacturing cell. I forgot the exact percentage, but it was quite a bit higher from all the machines that were not automated. And that to me really speaks to why do you need to automate, right? So machine shops only make money if that spindle's turning. And you think about a robot sometimes isn't as fast as a person, but they don't take breaks, they don't walk away, they don't stop and stare at their cell phones and things of that nature. So even though sometimes the load time, things of that nature, may be a little bit different than what you might see, John Doe sitting here throwing parts into a chuck, but the consistency of the overall process was so much greater than everything around it. It was a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, it's definitely something we believe strongly in, of course, being an automation company as well as a work holding company. And our president, Milton Gary, he has a vision for automation that is second to none. I did fail to mention that part of the expansion that we talked about in May of last year included the production of automation components as well, so that we can help secure delivery for our customers and react in a more timely fashion. Automation. It's funny when you were telling the story about the automation and not taking breaks and robots, that kind of thing. I never forget walking through a shop and they had the robot named. It was named Skip. I'm like, okay, Skip's break, Skip's lunch, Skip's vacation.
Yeah.
So
Skips all the things that you don't want it to be doing anyway, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I've seen some unique things. I've seen people have robots with like clothes on them. I've seen obviously the Gossiger, the drink machine robot that they bring around to open houses and stuff. They have it in a little German outfit and things like that. So kind of comical what people do with them at times.
Yeah, and for us at Schunk, automation and work holding are that's our core competency.
Yeah.
We also see that automation is something that is creating jobs by helping us be more competitive,
right?
As a U.S. manufacturing society. The more automation is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Is my point.
You can redeploy your assets into other environments that add a lot more value, not only to the company, but to their lives as well. Give them an opportunity to learn new skills and bring more value to the overall operation.
Yeah, and the robots are getting safer. That's a trend that we're seeing as well. And it used to be the large manufacturers were the only ones investing in automation.
Yeah.
putting robots in place. But as the technologies advance, that cost to implement has reduced. And we are now seeing job shops that have to be very flexible, from running low volume, high mix, right? So
I can hear my belly rumble.
small lot sizes.
Yeah.
And they may be setting up weekly or daily. And now there's the robot technology, along with the end of arm tooling technology, that allows you to be very flexible and safe, to be able to put a robot right beside a human.
Right. I had John Toohey in doing a podcast here the other day, and it's interesting to hear the leaps of technology that the automation houses are going through. Fanuc's coming out with their line of collaborative robots that are not just the big robots with a green padding around it. They're truly cobots that live in that environment. I know from an Okuma perspective, years ago we would look at projects, especially from a job shop perspective, and you would talk about automation, and it was always, in the future, we'll get the machine for now, and maybe someday we'll automate it. And someday's here, right? So now when we're looking at projects, a lot of them start with, okay, I need the machine and automation. I need to, we need the entire process. We got to figure out how we're taking parts from raw material to finished goods in a unmanned environment. And the whole mentality really around automation has changed a lot. And I think the environment we're in, has kind of ushered some of that. But a lot of it is just how do you get better process efficiency overall? And that tends to be some low-hanging fruit. Calculations I've worked on over the years, labor is always such a huge component of the price to make that part. So the more we can get that spindle to run without operator intervention or without manual intervention, the cheaper you can make that component.
Yeah, I always think about, the machine world, the machining environment. There's way too many variables.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you're trying to identify or troubleshoot a problem, it's a process of elimination. So if you can reduce the amount of variables that you can with automation, then you're headed in the right direction. And you mentioned automation, getting ready to automate. It's here today, and I think it's been expedited with the current state of our society that we're living in right now. So it's not a matter of if you're going to automate, but when.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're thinking when to automate and you don't know, but it's coming, just my recommendation would be to number one, have the vision, think big,
mm-hmm.
start small, scale up.
Right.
So what does that mean? So think big. We're gonna need automation at some point, at some level. So start small. What I mean by that is make sure your machine tool is accessorized with the work holding that will allow you to scale up.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some of the products then, from both from a work holding standpoint, but also automation. How does Schunk address that? How do you look at a process and do exactly that? Start small and provide the opportunity to scale up.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we would recommend that any customer do, let's take a machining center, a milling machine, is that you need to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have the technology platform on the table of the machine that allows you to build on top of that. And maybe it's built on top of that with a vise, or maybe it's built on top of that with a magnet, or maybe it's built on top of that with a manual chuck,
mm-hmm.
right? So we at Schunk have a 0-point clamping system. We know it as Vero S.
Mm-hmm.
And so that then becomes your new table in a sense. You put it there. It gives you a base or a platform for modularity.
Mm-hmm.
And all those different work holding devices I'd mentioned, whether it be a vise, a chuck, a magnet, a vacuum, those technologies are equipped to interface directly with the Vero S 0-point clamping system. So you can go from holding, a round part with a 3-jaw chuck to holding a square part with a vise, and never have to re-indicate your work holding, because once you do it one time and save that into your program, the next time you run the job, you just call that program and hit cycle start.
And that reduces your changeover time. You've got a known location that you're going to. You can set up your process sheets accordingly, so operators know exactly, I'm putting this work holding on, it goes in these different locations, and very quickly. And to me, that's always the low-hanging fruit. The changeover times, those are typically the areas where you can make big impacts to the company on keeping that spindle running. So those are great systems to have. I like what you're saying. Start with the modularity, and then you're flexible from that point on to address what type of work you're bringing in.
Absolutely, and Schunk is uniquely positioned in that space. And the reason I say that is we are a company that provides not only the quick change work holding platform or base, but we also provide automation. So we're constantly thinking about the developments for our work holding and how they can be automated. So, our VeroS 0-point system.
So you're kind of starting with the endpoint in mind, right?
Yep.
So at some point that's got to be automated. So you're starting that process early on from the work holding.
That's right. So you can have a person quickly change out one clamping device to another, or you can have a robot do it. And so that's where our two core competencies really merge together to complement our customer and our customer's customer.
Right.
You also brought up the point about automation, and one of the things I think about is the skills gap.
Yeah.
So we know that there's a skills gap in our industry.
It's a big talking point from Maine to California, coast to coast. Everybody says, well, we're unique. We can't find skilled operators. You're really not unique. That's a common theme across the nation.
It is, and the educational institutions are doing what they can, to help bring that forward.
Yeah.
So I want to speak about two things. Number one, at Schunk, we are extremely proud that we have an apprenticeship program where we graduate 60 some odd apprentices a year.
That's excellent.
And so that started in Germany, but we also foster that development in North Carolina as well.
Okay.
So that's important to help fill the skills gap. Also think our products can help fill the skills gap. And in one way, I go back to our 0-point clamping, quick change clamping technology. So we talked about if you set the job up once, you indicate your device, work holding device in, you save it, it's going to be there the next time that you set that job up, because it's going to repeat less than 5 microns, 0.2, if you will.
Yeah.
So in, I guess, the shop says when I started, you would need a highly skilled machinist to set that job up every time. And if you set up a lot of jobs every day, then you needed several of those that type of skill. Well, with the 0-point systems, the VeroS, now you can take that process, prove it out, save your work shift offsets, come back to it, and you can come back to it 100 times, and you never have to indicate again. So what that just did is, instead of having a setup person do it 100 times, now they do it once.
Right. Yep. Save that gets called up, and it's repeatable. Now you've got a process that's repeatable, and then long-term wise, again, if it's repeatable and it's known, now you can automate it.
Absolutely.
All right. So this time of year, we should typically be in IMTS. We should be sitting in the big trade show and sitting eyeball to eyeball with people, but we're doing all that remote. So we're going to be talking a lot about IMTS Spark here in the next little bit. What's Schunk? What are you guys doing for IMTS Spark, and just the kind of the future outlook on how do we still work together and tackle problems together, only not be as physical in front of each other as we once were.
Yeah, so Schunk is committed to IMTS. We're committed to providing our customer with, the solutions, the products to help them envision where they can see their path in the future. Um, as you mentioned, this year we're not able to come together, which is, for me at IMTS, I reflect and I get a lot of energy, from that show.
Yeah.
It's our time, our
Right.
the manufacturing world. It's our time to come together and introduce new technologies. So, yep. So that's not going to happen, but we are committed to supporting IMTS and the Spark series. So, yeah, it's a new platform. It's different, but we're up to the challenge to help provide the content, much like we would do in building out our booth at IMTS. Since we're not able to do that, luckily, we do have a different platform, as you mentioned, Spark. And so we are participating, and we will have every month a different industry trend that we're going to highlight.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first month will be future readiness. The second month will be a theme, 5-axis machining.
Okay.
And then third would be skills gap, and so on and so forth.
So define future readiness. What does that look like for Schunk?
What it looks like for Schunk is, first and foremost, trying to think ahead and help our customers, with the technology that they need to, automate. So that's, I'd say, for Schunk, it's having thought leaders in mind. What's coming.
Yeah.
How can we help our customers take advantage of that?
Sharing what you see basically on the horizon, and then how do you navigate through it?
Yep. How do you innovate? How do you develop and then industrialize to bring it to the market so that our customers can take advantage of, their future and start planning.
Excellent. I like the term future readiness. I like that's something you can sink your teeth in. There's a lot of meaning behind that. So, education is such an important thing, and I think most shops, they only know what they're experienced by. So if you stay kind of in a cocoon and you only do things a certain way and that's all you do, eventually the world and technology is going to blow past you. So you got to stay educated. You got to see what the new innovations are, and then have that future outlook. What's on the horizon. And anytime I talk to customers, I always like to know, where are you currently? What are you trying to accomplish today, right now? But then where are you trying to get to 5 years from now? And I know people can say, man, 5 years, that's too far out, the way how fast the world's changing. But you got to have a vision of where you're trying to take your company and your shop or your manufacturing process. And then a lot of our job is to make sure what we're doing right here today doesn't handicap you from getting where you want to go tomorrow, 5 years from now, down the road. So that's a really good outlook on that.
Yeah, that's I think I guess one of the realizations I've had is as soon as you learn how smart you're not, the smarter you become, because you open up your mind. Right?
Yeah.
You enlist the experts in that space, whether it be the machine tool builders such as Okuma, or the clamping and gripping experts such as Schunk. Utilize the resources that are out there to help prepare for the future.
Yeah. Through the Partners and Think group, you've heard me talk, and I use this a lot, and it's a big part of my philosophy with the partners side of things, but it's force multiplication. So if you try to tackle everything by yourself, one person at a time, you've only got so much bandwidth in whatever that is, whether that's knowledge, whether it's expertise, experience, you've only got so much. But now if I work with you, I just added to that. And I work with this guy, I just added to that. And you're multiplying that effect. And you take a group of companies that work well together. You're not just working with me and what I know. Now you're working with what I know and what you know and the people that you've been around, and you multiply all that force and that experience to tackle your projects or problems.
Wait, I think you just found a fourth dimension.
Yeah. Now we're getting too deep.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're kind of wrapping in on our time here. Allan, how do they find you? If somebody out here is listening to this podcast and says, I want to know more about what Allan's talking about and more about Schunk, how do they reach out to you guys?
There's a lot of ways to find us. We have our field service reps. So we have on the clamping side, we've got 20. On the automation side, we've got another 20. So there's 40, roughly 40 employees eager to serve our customers. You can also visit www.schunk.com, or you can reach out directly to our office in Morrisville, North Carolina. And toll-free number is 800-772-4865.
All right. Allan, I appreciate your time today. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Shop Matters. Allan, I appreciate all the knowledge you brought us on Schunk and the work holding and automation pieces. If you have thoughts, ideas, questions, or anything that you want to hear on a future podcast, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us at www.okuma.com/shop-matters. We'll talk to you next time.